Growing in raised beds really accomplishes a couple different things. One of them is if you're in an area where there's a lot of rocky soils present or heavy clay soils that won't drain well, maybe you're even dealing with a bank that you want to incorporate a vegetable garden into. One of the easiest ways is to create raised beds. And that is where you just raise the bed with, in many cases, as you see here, wood. Some people do it with even stone, bigger stone like a rock wall. But it allows you to work these beds pretty easily because you can kneel, and then it makes it easy for you to pick your vegetables and work on your vegetables when they're sort of low growing. And as you see in front of me here, we have chard, we have carrots, we have beets, but it really makes gardening just a little easier for those of you who would prefer to kneel rather than stand. And it also allows you to grow some things as pole beans, and this is just another neat little trick. And what Mike and Glenda Western have used here in their garden is bamboo stems. These probably were about 15 feet long when I cut them for them. Then they cut them shorter, but they left little side branches on them. So as the pole beans intertwine, they have something to really grab onto. So, it's another neat little thing of using some things that you can find in your garden or your friends' gardens to grow vegetables a little easier. Another form of raised vegetable gardening would be gardening in containers like Mike and Glenda have done right here with this large clay pot with this squash. Now, one of the things that you always have to keep in mind in vegetable gardening is succession planting. This squash is pretty much at its end of its life. It's finished producing. But if you look over here, we have more squash that's being planted. And if you look over here, even in front, you can see some just germinating now that will go ahead and provide some, more vegetables later in the season. Here we have a little different type of structure, building this raised bed, different types of wood which you can use. But the real advantage to raised vegetable gardening beds is you can mix your own soil. And this soil is mixed with, some of the compost that has been gathered here for years, and then many other elements and fertilizers and nutrients, and maybe, some composted leaves are added in. And as you notice, you can just dig down with your hands and plant your seeds or your plants just by hand. And it really allows for great drainage because the water drains through this here. You can see there's mulch for the walkway, so you don't have to worry about weeds. But you can virtually create any type of mix that you would like. You could create a mix that grows well for onions, a mix that grows well for beets. But what you've seen here at the end against this wire grid is some of the peas for fall. So you've always got to consider planting again and again, so all the way through until you get heavy frost, and in some cases you can harvest some of these vegetables even after that. One of the things that raised vegetable gardens force upon you is because of space, you only can grow one or two of each, so you're not filling your whole garden with things you can't eat. And you'll notice here, you might have just one or two types of tomatoes in this raised vegetable garden bed. The other thing that I really like to grow and does well in raised beds are your peppers. They really like a well-drained soil, like to be fed. If you love jalapenos, nothing better than fresh jalapenos. Chili peppers are easy to grow in a garden. And of course, for those of us who like sweet peppers, you can grow the different giant bell pepper varieties. And right here, cucumbers. Everybody likes cucumbers. And there's an English type cucumber here and a slicing type cucumber here, but only two total plants. And they're great because cucumbers sometimes sit in the store for a week or so. Sometimes they're covered with sort of a wax, but you can go right out into your garden, pick your cucumbers fresh and use them in your salads, or just eat them right out in your garden. The other thing you might consider adding to your vegetable garden would be figs. You know, these are 3 different types of figs, and right in front of me here are 4 different types of blueberries. When it comes to blueberries, you need to have at least 3 or 4 varieties that bloom at the same time. And beyond, there's even strawberries there in this garden. So, you know, go out, create a little raised vegetable garden, pick your own vegetables, eat them fresh every day. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, click on the In the Garden website, inthegardenradio.com.